Hey guys, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. Today's video is going to be why I don't feel better after taking Synthroid or your conventional thyroid medication. I see this all the time. Patients come in, they have an elevated TSH. That TSH may have been elevated for a very long time or progressing in that direction for 5 to 10 years. They've had symptoms for a while: hair loss, cold hands, cold feet, mood issues, cognitive issues, energy issues. And their doctor says, okay, here's a prescription for Levoxyl or Synthroid, some kind of a synthetic T4 with a sodium molecule attached to it. They write that prescription, they bring that TSH down, but they still don't feel well. Why is that? All right, part of the reason why is because most people who get their thyroid tested, they never actually look at T3 levels. Now, sometimes they'll look at T4 maybe, right? Maybe T4 total or T4 free, but then they don't look at T3 free. And then a lot of times with T4, there's a conversion issue. So people that have low thyroid levels or elevated TSH, they tend to also have deficiencies in certain enzymes that help convert T4 to T3. And a lot of these enzymes are selenium dependent, zinc dependent, nutrient dependent. And so if we have issues with those type of nutrients, we're not going to convert well. Also, if we have excess inflammation, cortisol, insulin resistance issues, that conversion is going to be harder to make. And of course, a lot of the underlying low thyroid issues are actually from Hashimoto's. So we have antibodies. We have autoimmune attack that's happening, and that's actually weakening the thyroid gland as well. And the antibodies can also have effects with the thyroid hormone docking into the receptor site and functioning properly. So we can make someone's TSH levels look pretty. So your conventional medical doctor, their objective is, okay, TSH high, I'm going to give you this medication, 50, 100 micrograms. We're going to bring that TSH back below 3, maybe below 2.5, and we're good, right? Now, in a perfect world, we do want to get your TSH closer to 1 or so, but we also want to see your T3 levels and T4 levels hit optimal levels as well. So T4 1 to 1.5 on T4 free. T3 levels, we want above 3.0 is good. It just depends on how you test. If you're giving thyroid hormone, right, that has T3 in it, like WP or Armor or NP Thyroid or Nature-Throid, my personal opinion is you want to test 2 to 3 hours after taking it, because I want to see where your hormone levels are at your highest. So when you take hormone, so when you go to bed, let's say you take your hormone twice a day. Twice a day is better, by the way, because T4 has got a very slow half-life, 5 days or so, 4 days. Conventional medical doctors don't care because that's a pretty long half-life, no big deal. But when you start adding T3 in, like WP, they kind of take the same approach with Synthroid. Oh, take it once a day as WP or Armor. But no, so that T3 can last 4 to 8 hours, maybe sometimes a little bit longer. So I like taking it twice a day, morning and afternoon, so we have coverage throughout the entire day. So you wake up, you take your, like, let's say your WP, right, which is probably one of the cleaner versions. Your thyroid hormone goes like this, and then it gently kind of comes down. And the goal is, here's your thyroid like this. We want to take your second dose here. So it kind of bumps it, and it goes throughout the rest of the day. That gives you a little bit of buffer so you don't ever have a significant drop. And let's face it, when you have a thyroid that functions, you're not just making thyroid hormone and just squirting it all out one time a day. You're kind of squirting it out throughout the day. So 2 times is a pretty good negotiation to kind of get that in there twice a day. So I like that, and I like testing it to see where it's at its highest. A lot of people, they take their thyroid once or twice a day, and now they're testing again the whole following day in the morning, first thing. They haven't taken thyroid hormone maybe for 24 to 18 hours. That's a long time. So of course they're going to test low, and that's a problem, because then you're always going to be testing a little bit lower. And if you're looking at TSH, your TSH may look okay, but your T3 and T4 levels still may be a little bit off. So that's the reason why. So my opinion is you want to give T4 with T3. And of course, when you're giving a full spectrum thyroid glandular, you're getting T2, T1, calcitonin, protomorphogenic compounds. I have my own personal product that I formulated that's called Thyroid Balance. That's a thyroid glandular product that it works phenomenal. I love that. But whatever thyroid you use, WP is a really good clean one on the conventional side. It's a USP, United States Pharmacopoeia certified, so it goes through pretty rigorous standards to make sure the hormone levels are there. So I like taking that one. I like taking it twice a day, and I like taking and testing someone's thyroid with that in their system at their optimal highest level, so you can see where their thyroid is at the high level. Now, it's important that when you have someone with a thyroid issue and you just give them Synthroid, there's that conversion issue I mentioned. There's the autoimmune component. There are the other factors like cortisol and insulin and inflammation and all these other factors that can be part of the equation, gluten, infections. So most people need to look at these other factors. Some kind of come in there and they can give them a little bit of hormone and they feel like they're brand new. Others have other things they have to really look at. And I'd say most do. They may get a little bump out of it and feel better. But if we have other factors going on, you really have to make sure those other factors are addressed. They could be low iron, zinc, magnesium, selenium, of course, autoimmunity, gluten sensitivity issues, of course, leaky gut, gut permeability. Also, it could be various infections like H. pylori or blasto, Yersinia enterocolitica, Lyme. These are all other infections that could be playing a role. So it's always good to look at that. Now, regarding Synthroid, we talked about it's missing the T3. So the first easy step or plug-in solution is just take whatever dose on Synthroid you're at. If your TSH looks good, convert it over to WP. What's the conversion? So with WP, it's 65 milligrams is a grain, or 1 grain equals 65 milligrams with WP and Natrethroid. With Armour and NP, it's 60 milligrams. So if you have 100 micrograms of Synthroid, that converts to 65 on WP or Natrethroid, or 60 on Armour or NP. So if you're at 100, guess what? Convert over to 65 on WP and divide it in 2 doses, 32.5, 32.5, or a half a grain if we're going to keep it simple. That's a good first conversion step if you're working with a conventional medical doctor. And then the next step would be, of course, working on the other factors and then trying to, make sure you're getting to the underlying issue, and then you're testing the way that I mentioned. And if your conventional doc's giving you a hard time with that, try to reach out to a functional medicine doc like myself. You can reach out down below. There'll be links where you can schedule and reach out to myself and or my colleagues. We're here to help worldwide. And if you enjoyed this content, give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you're going through, what's working, what's not. And if you're enjoying it, share this video to friends or family. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video here today. I'll grab a couple of questions for you before we exit. Not feeling like myself, trying to figure things out. My last results were TSH 0.99, T3, I'm guessing free was 3.5, free T4 1.1, ANA positive, ANA total 1.80. So yeah, your thyroid looks pretty good, but there is some autoimmune stuff happening. Again, I don't see any of your thyroid antibodies, so where are those at? Number one, but want to look at your adrenals, want to look at your diet, want to look at your guts. But thyroid doesn't look so bad, but I want to dive in deeper. Someone asked about treating autism. It's a loaded question because you really got to look at gut function, diet, blood sugar stability, toxicity, immune. All those things have to be looked at. Just not just one thing. Is it beneficial to take GI Restore while in the GI Clear program? Yes, it is. I typically only recommend the GI Restore is if there's any active inflammation or any active gut inflammation or irritation symptoms. So whether there's laboratory inflammation or symptomatic inflammation, that's where I typically recommend it, because most patients that come in after a month or two, they're doing so well because they've changed their diet, they're digesting better, they follow those first 2 hours, that can really settle a lot of inflammation. But for patients that have history, now knowing your history, Riley, with ulcerative colitis, I think it was ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, I think it was Crohn's, with that level of inflammation in your body, taking the GI Restore for you would definitely be beneficial. If you ingest apple cider vinegar on a regular basis, would it be a good idea to rinse your mouth with sodium bicarb on top of that and brush your teeth with toothpaste that has baking soda in it? Do you mean like to neutralize the acid? Is that what you mean? As long as you're drinking some water and you're keeping it off your teeth, I don't see there being a big problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. But in general, is baking soda good for toothpaste? Yes, it is. What's the therapeutic amount of ascorbic acid for a person with adrenal problems? Typically 2 to 4 grams is usually pretty good. If you want to do a calibration and titrate it up until your loose stools happen and then back off when they solidify, that's fine too. But 2 to 4 grams is pretty good. Thoughts on SIBO or SBO for SIBO? I would just go look at my previous SIBO podcast on that. What's the best treatment for scalded skin syndrome of staph? Oils are not penetrating deep, infections do not go away. So is the scalded skin issue, is that from a staph infection? So I'd want to figure out what's going on with the infection, fix the root underlying issue of it, and I would probably do some topical things to help. I mean, I like lipid barrier serum by Marie Veronique, as well as their Barrier Restore serum, maybe some serum vitamin C just to help with the tissue and the inflammation, good collagen. But I want to get to the root of why that happened. Can vitamin C actually somewhat help with digestion since it's an acid? It probably could help a little bit. I don't know if I don't know what the pH of it is on average, though. I don't know if it could move the pH enough to really aid in digestion, but it definitely couldn't hurt. If your parotid is flapping, slightly painful, could that be a sign of salivary gland cancer? Not sure. So if your parotid, which is like right here, right when you get mumps, it gets inflamed. I'm not sure. I'd want to know why it got inflamed. So again, when patients ask questions, like most times I have 10 more questions. So I have 10 more questions regarding the incidents, how this all occurred, the timing of it, the history. Is this the first time? What got it inflamed? All those things matter. But of course, if there's any autoimmune stuff, like, of course, diet's the first thing, because Sjogren's disease could easily be the more than likely thing if there's autoimmunity going on. Sjogren's attacks the parotid gland. So you start to see dry eyes, dry mouth with Sjogren's. What's your protocol for naturally clearing bad bacteria in the gut? Depends on the gut bacteria, but I have various GI clearing herbs, GI Clear 1 through 6, and I'll use those in accordance to what the bacteria is. Best natural source of B vitamins if I don't find a good B vitamin supplement. Liver is great. Liver is really good. You can also do a nutritional yeast. What's your success rate for autism? I don't see a ton of autism patients, but I mean, I can tell you most autism kids that come in that I see, lots of casein allergies, lots of gluten allergies. Those are huge. There's a lot of gut permeability issues, a lot of gut infections. And then because of that, they have a lot of nutritional deficiencies, and usually their diet's crap. They tend to crave lots and lots of sugar. So you just start with the simple things. You don't have to do crazy stuff out of the gates. Just work on those foundations first, but that makes a huge difference. And then, of course, you can go into, addressing gut infections and even potential chelation if you need to. If you're doing low carb already with a lot of issues, would lean more towards trying a low FODMAP or paleo. It seems you go wrong with anything to eat. So it just depends what you mean, right? If you're not feeling good with low carb, why? The biggest two mistakes people go low carb is, one, they go low fat, and two, they also go low calorie. And so you have to, one, make sure you're getting enough calories, two, getting enough fat, and usually fat and calories are connected. And then, of course, it just depends upon your body type, right? If you're overweight and you're carrying extra weight, you probably need to be going low carb. You just may need an adaptation period to get more fat-burning enzymes going. If you're already at a really good weight, like you're already leaner and more petite, maybe you're having a harder time gaining weight, then you probably want to start gently nudging in carbs and seeing if that starts to help. Spirulina or chlorella better for detoxifying metals? I'd say chlorella. Sounds good. Thanks for the info. You are totally welcome. Can you figure out everything wrong with digestion and stomach issues with a GI map test? I mean, it gives you a good start. I mean, part of it is just, one, understanding the history and then doing the foundational 6 Rs. That really helps most people, I would say, unless there's some kind of really significant underlying stress that's keeping digestion at bay. That really helps. Can having a high-grade dysplasia and stage 1 cancer cause the parotid perilla to become inflamed? Well, I mean, are you saying, so I get 10 more questions. So are you saying you actually have cancer in the parotid gland? So if there's cancer, then by definition, there has to be some level of inflammation in that area for cancer to be occurring. So are you saying you already have cancer there? So of course, if there's cancer already there, that's probably what's driving the inflammation. It just depends upon what the root cause of the cancer is. So I'm not quite sure the question. I have twitching and fatigue all over my body. How much should I take of potassium? Is 12,000 milligrams enough? That's way too much, by the way. And about 1,100 milligrams of potassium, probably too much. You'll probably get loose stools with the magnesium, and you'll probably get nauseous with the potassium. You probably want to start with 500 milligrams of the potassium and then kind of go up in 500 milligram increments. Look at the high potassium foods, right? Your green veggies, your safe starch like squash and sweet potato, your avocados. Look at those and kind of go up from there. I'm sneezing a lot previously from Brussels sprouts, collard greens, histamine issues, and gut microbiota imbalances. Yeah, follow the 6 Rs. Have you ever done a video on kefir? What do you think about it? I mean, I think kefir's fine. It's just fermented, whether dairy or you can do a coconut kind of kefir. Coconut kefir is probably the easiest because people that are sensitive to dairy, there's no lactose or casein in that. I mean, you'll get the fermentation a lot of times will lower the lactose, but you still may have some casein. So coconut kefir is probably better. If we go on a paleo high fat, if we go on a paleo high fat, fat malabsorption takes place, then what should we do if not properly assimilated? Follow the 6 R's. Get HCl and enzymes and all that stuff dialed in first. Can you have a lot of inflammation in your body if your insulin's at 3.4? Glucose stays between 75? Yeah, it's possible. Yep. It all depends upon what the symptoms are, but the gut stuff could definitely be part of it for sure. If you have gut infections, if you exercise too much, some people, they naturally, genetically can be good with their blood sugar, good with their insulin, and still eat a crappy diet. So you got to look at the diet as well. If you're eating a lot of refined sugar and processed carbs or gluten or grains, or even autoimmune foods like nightshades, right? You may want to cut those things out if you are having symptoms. Great. I wasn't told it was cancer, though. I have polyps in my duodenum. Okay. So if you weren't told that it was cancer, then you don't even know what it is then. So the first thing I would associate it with, it's really hard because I'm like doing a consult over here. It's really tough because I have 10 more questions. So the questions I have off the bat is how long has it been happening for? What are the symptoms? Has it been getting better or worse over the last, body of time since it's been here? Some people, they have a problem and it's been getting worse over time as they've been making changes. Some people, they have a problem and it's getting better over time. So I always like to get a sense of momentum and what's already been done. I have no idea what's been done, so I'm going to just assume that it's there and you haven't done anything yet. So I would work on the diet stuff and see how much of that helps as well. All right, guys, got to roll. You have a phenomenal day. We'll be back tomorrow.